Sexual Offenders Residency Board for November 18th. And so I'm first going to start with the approval of the agenda. So could I have a motion? Actually, I take it back. The agenda does have a change in it. The first person that was on the agenda has been postponed until our December meeting, so we only have one person on the agenda. So that is the agenda that I'm looking to get approved today.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the first person being moved over to next month.
And I will second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is approval of our meeting minutes from the previous meeting. Is there any comment anybody would like to make before I ask for a motion? All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes from our October meeting?
I'll approve those minutes.
I will second it.
Great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so let's get started here. Hang on a second, let me just, so our first appeal is going to be for Stephen A. Orenzen to move to 1513 Ellis Street. Is Mr. Orenzen here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Mr. Orenzen, before we begin, I just want to call through a roll call with each board member, and I'm going to ask them to confirm this. First one is I do not have an interest or a conflict of interest in this particular matter. Can I have a roll call from each one of you? I do not. Dean Gerondale?
I do not, Eddie Bebo.
I do not. Faith Washington.
Second question, I have not received any communication from any person or party about this matter prior to this meeting. I do not. Dean Gerondale?
I do not, Eddie Bebo.
I do not. Faith Washington.
All right, in terms of the staff here, is there any other further details that we have regarding this application other than what was included in our packets?
That's everything I have. There is.
The packet should be complete.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any witnesses for this particular applicant that you have been asked to present today?
I don't know if that's my cue. I was just calling in. I'm Steve Moore's daughter, and so I wanted to just call in and speak kind of for him, but I don't know if this is the time or...
It's not the time, ma'am. Can we just have your name and address for the record, and then we'll include you in an opportunity to speak in this person's behalf?
Yes, my name is Dr. Rachel Lesh, and my address is 23908 off the Leverett Highway in Washington.
All right, thank you. Okay, just to let you know, the applicant will have an opportunity to present his or her evidence as explained by the board and the reason why you wish to live in the city of Green Bay considering our restrictions. Applicants may discuss the treatment history in open session or request discuss treatment in closed session. Sir, which would you prefer? You can either do this in private or in public session.
I don't have any objection to doing this in public. I'm fine with that.
All right. Again, we only have one person in regards to speaking for him. You will have up to 3 minutes to talk, at which time we will have the ability to ask you any questions that the board might want to ask. The committee will then close the hearing and enter into a deliberation in regards to the candidate. And then after that, we will make motions to either approve or disapprove. And then after that, we will tell you the reason that we have chosen to do this in broad terms in regards to the factual information that was presented to us. With that said, let me just grab your application again here, sir. Hang on a quick moment.
All right.
All right, so the first thing that we just want to confirm is that you're looking to move to 465, 1513 Ellis Street, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I put an offer in on that house to purchase it, and the offer was accepted by the current tenant, the owner.
Okay, and currently you're living at 465 Pilgrim Way, Green Bay?
That is also correct.
And how long have you lived there, sir?
After the time spent in the halfway house, I've lived there since, so roughly 1 month. It's a hotel in Ashwaubenon.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so I first want to start off with talking about your offense. So what I'd like to do is go over that. Please make sure you do not identify the victim either by proper name or by surname, saying it was my niece or my cousin or anything like that. So can you tell us what happened, how it occurred, and how it actually came about that you were convicted of this crime?
All right, well, my crime is possession of child pornography. I guess how it came about, I was divorced in 1990 and was very alienated with women and sought out pornography as a sexual release. I was given custody of both of my children. They were the ages of 2 and 5 at that time, and I did raise them both their entire life, as my daughter will attest to later in the call. But I really became very disenchanted with seeking out another partner, and found it much easier at the time to use pornography, and which led then to child pornography, which, clearly it's a horrible choice that I made. But that in a nutshell is it. I mean, I can get into more details, I suppose, but basically that's really what happened is I sought out pornography and became addicted to it. And unfortunately, it went down the wrong path to viewing child pornography as well, and that led to my conviction.
Sir, you indicated in your filing here that you're seeing Jim Drake. Is that correct?
Yes, I've seen Mr. Drake 7 times. I've met with him this morning, so I've seen him 7 times.
Okay, and is it in a private session with him or in a group session?
No, these are private sessions.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're talking with him about and what you're learning?
Certainly, yeah. He's really helped me tremendously to understand somewhat my motivations a little bit better. I mean, I had a very, very poor conception of what I was doing. I think I fell into the category of, well, I'm not hurting anybody, so what? And I've really come to realize in speaking with Mr. Drake that that's so far from the truth that it's laughable. I mean, I not only were those children and young girls underwent tremendous physical and mental anguish from that. I was literally viewing crime scenes. I mean, he's given me that insight to think that I was taking pleasure from something that was that horrific, and those people that were being abused on a regular basis. Really, just by gaining that insight from Jim, I really have a much different view of the crime and realize the nature of it and how horrible it really is. It's not a victimless crime by any means. I mean, in addition to the actual victims of the pornography, my children were victimized. They were forced to see their father in a horrible light, and it's something that I certainly never wanted to have happen, and was foolish enough to believe it never would. But I really have come to understand much better the error of my ways and the horrible choices that I made. And again, Jim has been very, very helpful in pointing out things and making me see things from a much different perspective and a much more clearer perspective.
Is there a reason why you didn't seek any treatment while you were incarcerated, sir?
Yes, it was. I actually did seek the treatment initially. I wrote a letter to the psychological services unit saying, how soon can I start this? And they wrote a letter back to me, or a note back to me, saying that this treatment that we offer here has been deemed inappropriate for your crime, therefore you won't be offered. It was SOT2 was the name of the program. And so I said, well, okay, I mean, there was nothing I could do about that. Well, after I'd been in prison for roughly 18 to 24 months, somewhere in that time frame, I was called to the psychological services unit, and they said, well, there is a pilot program for child pornography now, and it's in New Lisbon. Would you like to move there? And I did not acclimate real well to prison. It's not something that I really fit in very well with, and it took me pretty much the entire time I was there to feel even a semblance of comfort. And the thought of going to another prison and having to restart that whole process over again just did not seem, doable to me, quite frankly. And so I declined at that point. I didn't realize that by doing so, they were annotating my record saying that I was refusing the treatment. That was not my intent in any way. I would have been happy to undergo the treatment there at Jackson. I just didn't want to have to go through moving to another prison and going through all the same acclimation process that I had gone through at Jackson. So that was the reason that I did not move to another prison, basically, and that was the only prison that was offering the program at that time. But my intent was certainly, once I got out, I was going to seek treatment, and I did immediately.
And so how long are you expected to stay with Jim Drake at this point?
We haven't really discussed an endpoint, so I guess I couldn't really say, but I mean, I certainly don't see the end isn't in sight by any means. I still feel that the sessions that we have are very beneficial to me in developing, the control that I need to control any kind of urges that I may feel, and to have a better insight and understanding of what really is going on when I'm thinking of these kind of things. Additionally, we're going to be working on relapse prevention programs or plans. So if I do feel that, maybe this would be a good idea to do this, I've got a finite way of addressing those kind of issues and of moving forward with my life. My intent is to become a productive member of society, and looking at pornography of any kind, much less child pornography, is certainly not a way to do that. That's just simply not the kind of person I want to be any longer.
Sir, are you currently employed, or are you retired?
No, I am retired.
Okay.
I'll turn 70 years old next June.
Okay. All right, is there any other questions anybody else has for him?
I do. So you indicated that you got divorced in 1990, and you didn't really know how, you didn't have any women relationships or whatever, so you turned to pornography. But you were not convicted of this case until 2016, 17.
That is correct.
So were you doing it for an extended period of time, and then how did you get caught?
I was looking at pornography for an extended period of time, adult pornography, but I did not start looking at child pornography until I think it was the early to mid 2002, 2005, somewhere in there. I really couldn't put a date on the date that I first looked at it. And then the second part of your question about how I got caught, well, I guess they tracked my traffic. I don't know. That the discovery information that I received, they simply said that the child sex law, allows them to get a warrant for someone's IP address, and they got that, and they saw that I was downloading child pornography, and that's how they caught me. That's my understanding of it. I obviously am not a law enforcement officer.
So you were doing this for basically almost like 15 years before you got caught?
I would say probably around 10, but yes, an extended period of time. I guess I don't know really how to color this in a good light. There is no good light. It's a horrible thing. But it's not that I was doing it 24 hours a day by any means. I had a very full life. I participated in all my children's athletic events. as I say, I was a single parent. I went to all their parent-teacher conferences. I was gainfully employed in the telecommunications industry, so I worked a steady job. I retired after 35 years. So it wasn't an all-encompassing thing that took up my entire day by any means. It was, I wish I could gain an even better understanding of, what really prompted me to move in that direction, because again, looking back now, it's, clearly the worst decision I've ever made in my life, but unfortunately, hindsight is 20/20, and at the time, I didn't see it as being a serious offense, but it clearly is. It's extremely serious.
And so you say you weren't doing it 24/7. How often would you say you viewed it?
Probably 5 to 6 days of a 7-day week, once or twice a day, perhaps. It was, as I stated earlier, it was for sexual gratification. So once I achieved that state, that was the end of it. It wasn't a fascination with it. It was my obsession and my compulsion was more in the collecting of it than it was in the viewing of it. I mean, that's not a believable statement for most people. Most people think I'm, lying basically by saying that, but that is the case. I have a slight case of obsessive compulsive disorder where I tend to want to collect things and have a lot of things such as CDs or DVDs, and I happen to play the guitar and I have 3 rather expensive guitars. I mean, there's no reason to have 3 of them, but I have 3 of them. So yes, I did look at it on a nearly daily basis, but again, certainly not, it didn't encompass my day, and it wasn't what drove me from day to day. It was more of I think Jim has helped me see that it was more of a boredom type thing where I just, I got nothing better to do, I might as well look on the internet at something. That was kind of my thought process, or lack of thought process actually, that drove me to engage in that kind of behavior.
Okay. Commander Abel?
Did that sufficiently answer your question?
Sure, yes, that's good. Commander Abel, is the story pretty accurate?
Yes, it is pretty accurate to the criminal complaint.
Okay.
I would like to know, when were you released from prison?
On August 25th of this year.
Of this year,
Yes.
August.
Yes.
And then when were you able to start treatment?
I think my first meeting with Jim was in mid-September. I don't have anything where I wrote down the dates of my meetings, but as I say, I believe this morning was either my 6th or my 7th meeting with him. So it would be, and it's been once a week, with one exception. While I was waiting for the VA to approve the treatment, there was a week that was skipped. So if this was my 7th treatment, then it would go back 8 weeks. If this was my 6th session with him, then it would go back 7 weeks from today. So as I say, my recollection is it was my parole agent referred me to Jim. She said Jim's a good therapist to go see him, and so I paid the money for the assessment, and then had 3 sessions with him where he assessed, and then after that we've had 3 or 4 sessions where we've at least kind of gotten into the meat of the issue, and started to develop some plans and some real ways to gain insight into this, and get a hold on it and make certain that it certainly never happened again.
So, sir, why should we make an exception and allow you to live in the city of Green Bay?
I guess I'm not sure what exception you mean by that. I have to live somewhere, clearly. And, I lived in Ashwaubenon for 35 years. I've been not lifelong. I moved here in 1980 when I got my job with Wisconsin Telephone. And again, I've been a productive member of that community for those 35 years. Was I performing illegal activities in my home? Yes, I was. But I don't believe I would be any kind of a threat to anyone. My intent in life here again is to become a productive member of society, and I feel that by buying a house and getting established in that neighborhood, and I'm not a real outgoing guy. I'm not going to be out walking the streets or anything. I pretty much keep to myself and play my guitar. I've really developed a much greater passion for the guitar with the time I've had in prison to, spend by myself basically, and, since then as well. And I think most of my energies really I have gone into playing the guitar and reading books and watching movies perhaps on TV. But I guess the bottom line to your question, sir, is that I don't feel I would be any kind of a threat, and I really feel that to reintegrate into society, I need to obviously have a place to live. So I don't feel like I've answered your question. I'm sorry.
You look at all into other communities like De Pere or Ashwaubenon borough?
I have, yes. My price range, I pre-qualified my credit with Rocket Mortgage or Quicken Loans, whatever they're called, and it was right around 130,000 was the threshold, and I told I explained my situation entirely to the realtor. I explained it to the owner of the whole house that, I can I want to put an offer in for this, and he had said, well, I can accept it. And I said, there's a caveat here, though. I said, I've got to go in front of this board, and they have to approve it. There's no way around it, because it's the city of Green Bay. And he understood, I've been nothing but honest with anyone I've dealt with, Quicken and with my realtor. And he looked in other communities, and there were a few in Pulaski, but they just, this one just really caught my eye. It just was a very nice 2-bedroom, older style house, and it just, I don't know, it was by far the best property I looked at. We looked at about 9 houses in total.
Okay. Any other
Does
questions?
that answer your question? I'm sorry.
Yes, it does. Yep.
Okay.
I have a question. So do you have any restrictions on your supervision, such as you can't have internet or a computer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, those are definite restrictions. I cannot have a smartphone. I'm talking to you on a flip phone, and that's fine with me. I don't feel. Well, I know I'm not the same person I was. I don't think anybody is, but it's not something that I feel I'm lacking. I think that the caveat is that I can't have internet access without some kind of monitoring software on it, and or the approval of my parole agent. So it would be on her to say, yes, you can have this, but we're going to put this on here so we can beam into your computer at any time and see what you're doing. And that would be fine with me. For the time being, when I need to check email and things of that nature, I go to a friend's house, and again, my parole agent's aware of this, and that's where I check my email.
And has your probation agent approved your home?
Yes, she has.
Okay. I have no further questions.
All right, we can go ahead and hear from the witness if there's no other questions.
Okay, I just wanted to call in, I guess, and just kind of be another person to speak for the character of my dad. Like he said, he raised us as a single parent, my brother and I, since I was 3, and he was always a great dad. He did all of the things that a dad should do, help with spelling bees and soccer practice and whatever. And so, despite the terrible crime, I do think that he is a good man, and I think the biggest hope from me and from my mom and from friends and things like that is just for him to be able to take the fact that he's been rehabilitated, he's working on being rehabilitated, and actually be able to transition back into society and again be maybe a useful person in society and get back to having a life after paying the price that he did for the crimes. But he really is, he's a very intelligent, very kind, very generous person, and I think that this is just that next step in being able to move forward and hopefully, keep being rehabilitated and keep making positive changes.
All right, thank you. Is there any questions anybody has for her?
Yes. How much contact you said you lived in Washington, correct?
I do now, yes.
Yes. So how much contact did you have with your father while he was in prison?
I flew back to Wisconsin, I think 3 times to go visit him, and we talked on the phone every week, and they actually implemented email as well at some point, and so I was able to, we emailed back and forth multiple times every week, just kind of touching base and keeping in contact about everything, and he's always been one of my best friends, honestly, and so, you know, when I have problems or things like that, being able to talk to him is really important, and so we definitely stayed in touch throughout everything, so that, you know, he could still help me with life problems, and I could listen to him, and we could just, honestly, we probably grew even closer because I don't think we talked that much before that, so it was, I guess, silver lining that we do talk all the time now, a lot more even, since all of this.
And what about your brother? How is your brother in this whole situation?
He lives down in California, and they also talked every week on the phone. He wasn't so good at the emailing, but they had a phone call every week just to catch up and talk and all of that, and so kind of similar, I would say, maybe just a little bit less often than me, but my dad and I have always been very close.
Okay, I have no further questions.
All right, if there's nothing else then, sir, do you have anything else to say for yourself, or else we're gonna move to making a motion?
No, I believe I've hopefully addressed all your questions and any concerns that you may have. I just, again, want to make certain that you understand that my goal here is just to reestablish myself and to become, you know, a productive person and a contributing person and a good neighbor to the people that I'm going to be living next to.
All right, Rachel, quick question here. Do we need to go into private session to have a discussion, board members, under these new rules?
It's up to the board whether they want to deliberate in public session or closed session, so it's your choice.
I'd like to make a motion to move to private session, please.
I second it.
All in favor of moving to private session, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, give me a moment so I can pause the video and stop and move everybody. Okay, everybody's back in the room. You are back in
All
public
right,
session.
we're now back in public session. We are going to ask for a motion on Mr. Warson's application. So does anybody have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Mr. Warson to move to 1531, is that the correct address? Ellis,
Address specific?
address specific.
Is there a second?
I will second.
All right, I will take a roll call vote. Dean Drondale,
No.
Heidi Michael,
Yes.
Dave Borschinger.
Yes.
Motion passes 2 to 1.
All right, sir, you have been approved to move to 1513 Ellis Street. Address specific, if you do move someplace else within the city of Green Bay, you would have to come back to this particular board. Would you like that sent to your current address, or is there a different address you'd like it sent to?
I'm not sure the hotel will take mail for me. So my mailing address is my ex-wife's house in Shawano, so it can go there. She drops it off for me with her son's business in Shawano, and I pick it up on a weekly basis. So whatever's, I mean,
The law department here?
I don't think you have it necessarily, but again, the post office, any mail that's, I guess the smartest thing to do is just to give it to you so that you have it correctly, correct?
Yeah.
The address, yeah, it's my name, of course, and the address is 416 Division Street. The city is Shawano, Wisconsin, obviously, and the zip code is 54166.
All right, thank you very much. You can,
All right, well, I'd like to thank all of you as well for giving me the opportunity to speak to you and to convey my side of the issues here and to assure you that you are making a good decision and you will not be disappointed. I promise you that.
Chair, would you, for the record, would you state the reasons why the board voted to approve?
The board approved, based upon our conversations in private session, approved this motion based upon their feeling of remorse in regards to the offense, the fact that you have started treatment, and they felt that there was a lack or potential lack of not reoffending again. So they felt that you would not fall back into the activities you did before that resulted in your conviction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there is no other items on the agenda. I would like to put into the record that prior to our next meeting that we have to have a formal meeting with the law department to discuss the new procedures. So we ask that be scheduled as soon as possible so everybody can get on everybody's calendar in a prompt manner. Our next meeting is December the 16th at 4 p.m. And if there's nothing else, then I will ask for a motion of adjournment.
I have are we just us right now?
We're still on the record until we adjourn.
Because there was, well, it was, I don't, you know, there's a little part, we did go through this procedure. And so this will be recorded. Is there a way we can talk, we can go into closed session for a short time?
Well, it's all recorded, Faye, so anything we talk about afterwards is going to be informal if we close. So if you have some general questions about
The procedure? Yeah, the new procedure.
The procedures, then it's...
What felt a little uncomfortable is it was good to talk and to hear from each other in a closed session. But then what felt uncomfortable is we didn't know at that very moment how it was going to go. You know, so we didn't, so it almost seems that we should sort of decide among ourselves, then we have to figure out, you know, why, because we are three different people. Do you understand?
One of the big concerns I have in this, Rachel, to be honest with you, is I've been on this board almost since its conception. And one of the big things that was originally told to me is that, you know, stating the reasons why we deny somebody or approve somebody actually puts us more at risk as a city. And now I'm being told that I have to state the reasons why. I think that puts the city at far more greater risk, that, you know, whether you deny somebody or you approve somebody. And that's one of my big questions. You know,
Well, one of the issues that's been coming up, especially with some of these people who have been coming back 2, 3, I think one person even 4 times, is knowing what the basis was for the board's decision. And if they present new information or changed information, then they can come before the board if circumstances have changed. But if nothing has changed, then the board's decision stands. So if we don't have those findings of fact and conclusions of law, it's up to decipher sometimes what basis the decision was made on, and if the city were to be sued, there would be no record as far as whether the decision was arbitrary and capricious or whether it was based on the criteria of rehabilitation, remorse, and likelihood to reoffend, as the ordinance requires.
I'm just giving you what I was told, you know, 13 years ago. You know, so those are the questions I think I have, and then it's going to definitely, these new rules are going to definitely participate a whole different set of how we manage these meetings. I mean, because once we get past this COVID thing and we're back in, you know, where we actually meet, you might as well tack on an hour to every meeting. Because I'll guarantee that no one's gonna wanna talk in public session in general, because that, to me, puts us more at liability, for the city, which means if we get an agenda like we have 10 people, guys, get ready for a 3 or 4 hour meeting.
I don't really think it's anything different than kind of what we were doing before, because a lot of times, Dean, you would ask, does anyone want to discuss their thoughts about it? I think that's the same thing that we're doing right now, but we're answering these questions that we're supposed to be answering: remorse, rehabilitation, or reoffense.
Yeah, but I think doing it in public, I don't have a problem answering the questions, but I think doing it in public puts us at risk, because all of a sudden it's a 3-2 decision or whatever. Now there's, they're gonna try to, go after one person. Well, his answer on as to, he didn't believe the person was remorseful. Well, that's arbitrary. Rachel, that's what you're trying to get us out of. And so I'm very concerned about having a public discussion, not us having a discussion, but a public discussion.
And that's entirely at the comfort level of the board, whether that deliberation is in closed session or open session. I mean, for some of these people who are just coming back because they've been approved 3 times before and they're changing their address or moving again, maybe you don't go into a closed session. But for the people who are appearing for the first time, maybe you want to go in closed session. I mean, that's up to you as a board.
I'm just really uncomfortable stating those reasons out there, so.
And in other quasi-judicial hearings that the city has, I mean, there are official findings of fact and conclusions of law that end up getting typed up and presented. I mean, this board handles a higher volume, and typically each hearing is shorter than those other ones. But I mean, from a procedural standpoint, this is the same process as if, like, the city went to revoke someone's liquor license and basically had to put on a trial in front of the Protection and Policy Committee. I mean, it's been scaled back. I think that there's been a little bit of attrition over the years, and I mean, I've seen the notes that are in the law department's iDrive and the file, and the notes from some of the other attorneys who have overseen this board, and there have been drafts of scripts and that kind of thing. I think the intent here is just to make sure that we're delivering the same information to everybody, and that's the purpose of the script, is to make sure that we're not forgetting to ask for, if there's anyone here to speak on behalf of anybody, that we're clear that people who want to speak on the matter have 3 minutes, and that we're hitting all that information on the front end, so that we don't forget in the moment, or that, I mean, it's as uniform as possible. And I mean, I don't think that the procedure is that different. I think that there was some discussion, generally speaking, on most of the appeals, like Heidi was mentioning, and I mean, I certainly brought that up as staff was discussing the law department's observations and what to do moving forward. But the issue of the conclusions of law and those findings of fact, just having a factual basis, saying that the conclusion of law is he was remorseful or he was not remorseful. The findings of fact are what that's based off of. So based on the testimony of the daughter and his involvement and the nature of the offense being, not an interpersonal but a digital violation, those types of considerations, those are the findings of fact. And then the conclusions of law are the decisions of the board, and those can be, I mean, not arbitrary, but they're what you ultimately decide. I mean, you're the finders of fact. You're the ones who make the decision. So those conclusions ultimately of, is he remorseful, is he rehabilitated, is he likely to reoffend, those are the conclusions you've all been charged to make.
Mm-hmm. Okay. appreciate the comments from everybody. But Rich, I definitely think we should get together with the full board prior to.
Absolutely. We were trying to make it happen before this meeting. So yeah, that will be a top priority.
Okay.
And I was-
Go ahead, Faye.
I was gonna say that most of it felt okay for me. It was just, now, if I had said no, see, then we would have had to come up with a reason. And so then what reasons are we going to use?
The opposite of what we just gave. We didn't believe he was remorseful. We didn't believe he had enough sexual offender training. Because of that, he was more at risk.
So you don't have to be more specific than that. As Rachel, it sounded like yours were more detailed.
Well, I mean, it's whatever facts you guys are leaning on to make the decision. I mean, if you're looking at the rehabilitation portion of it, Jim Drake is a reputable person to work with when it comes to sex offender treatment. He's only had 7 sessions, so that's a fact that was considered. But I mean, you all spoke to his understanding that has already come through from those sessions, and I mean, there are those facts that you're discussing. They just have to be articulated as far as what the ultimate decision is. I mean, those people who, in the deliberation, spoke in favor of approval, I mean, those are the points that the board is obviously going with. If they ultimately approve the...
That's what I tried to do, even though I voted against him. I said, well,
Yep.
I got Heidi's and Faye, your reasoning, and that's what I just laid out.
Yep.
You know? I didn't go ahead and make my comment, well, I don't believe Heidi what she's saying, and, you know, I'm not gonna do that. I just, hey, here's the facts of why I know that Heidi voted this way, and Faye, why you voted that way. And just,
And if, I mean, some of those factors that go against the vote, I mean, they can still be articulated. I mean, the fact that he's in with Jim Drake, he is receiving counseling, it appears that he's making progress, but the fact that he's only had 7 sessions does cause some concern. So the board's voting to approve, but make sure that you continue to receive that treatment. And I think that's entirely appropriate.
And are the 3 words, what shall I say, it's remorse and it's rehabilitation. And it's,
Correct.
and whether, and the likelihood of the person reoffending.
Correct. And I'm hoping to get some training in as far as like, you know, interpersonal offenses being more likely to reoffend, the internet crimes being like a 3% likelihood to reoffend, I think is the statistic that I've seen. So I would like to get some, you know, expert training in. Maybe we can get a Zoom session set up, but between now and the next meeting, we just have to meet and make sure we're all in lockstep on these.
Okay, thank you.
all right, may I have a motion to dismiss?
Or adjourn.
Adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
And I will second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 You all have a great Thanksgiving.
You too.